Now, I know most people want to move on from COVID. Just stay with me for a moment, would you please? I know that, as I said, people are over it. But the reality is that many people cannot move on. They want to, but they can't. And my heart goes out to them. Listen, please, I'm not talking about those foolish people you see walking in the countryside or driving in a car by themselves with a mask on. A mask, by the way, that in my estimation and research doesn't do much good at the best of times. I mean, you have to ask yourselves, what fear or deception are these people in? And I think we should definitely all move on from that, please. But earlier this week, I was watching an interview on One News of two young, wonderful young ladies who were once both energetic, leading full on lives, but now their lives have been upended as they continue to suffer from long COVID, severe long COVID. Now, many immediately are going to rise up in defense at my following thought or my question that I want to ask, which is a shame because in New Zealand, there doesn't seem to be any truthful discussion, surveys by professionals to get the truth out there, which I think produces a lot of mistrust and suggests in some people's minds that it's all a cover up and so forth. And I know that all too often people just want to take polarizing sides, closing down before listening. But let's remember that the mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So I trust that you will watch this through and just have a listen, because I believe it's so important for people. I mean, I watched this TV1 piece and I was saddened to see, as mentioned, these two young, once healthy individuals, and now their lives are currently ruined. So the question I would have loved to ask, or had the interviewer ask, had they taken the COVID vaccine or not? Now, please let me explain this in the nicest possible way. I want to make my comments today in this post that is not divisive or cause people to react or to close down, but to endeavor to ask what is a reasonable and thoughtful question. Clearly, listen, I'm not, and I do not make myself out to be a medical profession, but as a pastor, I am a person who is concerned for people's health and well-being, body, soul, and spirit. In actual fact, I pray for dozens of people weekly, thousands over the years. I pray for people with all kinds of and various health issues. And I have to say, it's awesome seeing answers to prayer, having seen many healings, breakthroughs, miracles over the years. It's been tremendous. And I could joke that I see just as many sick people as a doctor. I'm joking, of course, but there's a little bit of truth to that. But I sincerely value doctors and nurses very highly, and the ones I know I have the utmost respect for. I've said that, when you're in hospital, nurses are like angels. They deserve all the help they can get. Likewise, as with doctors who are also overworked and underpaid. And I'm digressing, I know. So let me get back on track. While many people ask me for prayer for many, many reasons, as mentioned, including health issues, and while, of course, I do not offer any medical advice, I do pray and believe for them, having compassion on them. I've never refused to pray for anyone. And I'm also a person who thinks about things, as mentioned, having the privilege of personally speaking to many people about many kinds of things. And it would be fair to say that I would speak to more people than most. So bottom line, in my experience, it is true that many people I've spoken to, prayed for, who've suffered from long COVID symptoms did take the jab. And I also have to say that they regret now doing so. And many seem to have or be suffering from long COVID, having symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, etc., without actually even having COVID. But the symptoms in some cases, in their opinions, seem to have come from the jab itself. Now, please hear me. I'm not decrying vaccination, so don't label me as an anti-vaxxer. I'm not entering into that debate today. I know there are many views on the issues of vaccine, and of course it's been highlighted due to the large number of implications from this COVID saga. But I think we would all agree that this COVID vaccine was different to others. For example, We all know that it was rushed through without the normal medical long-term trials. It was even called an experimental vaccine in the early days of the rollout. We were told it was a new type of vaccine, an mRNA, etc. But we also know that many highly trained professionals that had genuine concerns when it first became available to the public, but they were silenced, they were misaligned, even cancelled, stripped of their licenses, etc., for raising concerns. And Facebook and other media, social media would silence people, take down people, and that came from the top, from Joe Biden and so forth. And we've discussed that and seen that recently. And so let's be honest, this was all a concern in itself. These were leading medical people and often people leading in the vaccine field. And I know that many others have now joined, many other medical professions have now joined in their concerns. It has also become common knowledge that there's been a number of side effects from this vaccine in question. One that obviously is most talked about is myocarditis, and is now even on the label as a warning, along with other possible side effects. I know there can be side effects to all vaccines, but let's be honest, this has raised more concerns than others. I know there are extreme views concerning this vaccine. I mean, you have one side even calling it poison, while others are still saying it's safe and effective. And I think the answer is often somewhere in the middle. It's truthful to say that even though it's still hard to admit by some, but the bottom line is this vaccine did not work as either thought it would or as promised it would. Even Anthony Fauci has admitted that, just as I posted in the past with him saying that, and by the way, along with my thoughts, I posted where he should be today if it weren't for Joe Biden's pardon. But in other words, as we all know, we were told that if we took the vaccine, we would not get COVID. I think we all remember that promise. Now, we know that that was untrue, whether they were genuine at the time or not. You'd certainly like to think so, but you have to wonder, as there has been no apology or rollback on that comment. And since there's been no apology, I personally don't think the powers to be were as genuine as they made themselves out to be, for we all know this became a far more of a political show than a medical show or medical issue. A little like the cover-up of the Wuhan lab leak due to the gain-of-function research. What a cover-up that was, and yet today there's still no accountability. So we know that the jab wasn't as effective as promised, and if we were truthful, we would admit that. Even as TV1 has had on over the years, recent times, in promoting the jab, as they asked people, how many shots have you had? And I've even posted this particular scenario. 5, they replied. And then they asked foolishly, well, how many times have you had COVID? 5, they replied. I mean, I posted these clips, and it's crazy, really, when they openly admit it. And then they go on to have someone like Nikki Turner on promoting it. Now, I'm not talking about the very aged, but those with mobilities, other mobilities that obviously COVID affected in a far more adverse way than the young and the healthy. Time revealed, did it not, that the young and healthy were not at risk at all from COVID. Then, of course, came the promise that if you took the jab, you would not get COVID as bad. Well, again, after talking to hundreds about this, people that I've talked to, most definitely by far the majority, again, this is in my estimation for what it's worth, people who took the jab got more of a severe dose of COVID than those who didn't. Not 100%, but definitely by far the higher percentage. All I'm saying is this, and asking why can we not have a fair, truthful survey done on the issue, now that time has gone by and we have some evidence either way. So this is my main point to this post. How about an honest, sincere question, an honest and sincere survey? What percentage of people who have had long COVID took the jab and what percentage didn't? I've heard that it's as high as 90% of long COVID patients took the jab, remembering, in fact, that some seem to have developed long COVID directly from the jab. Now, again, please don't decry me for an anti-vaxxer and just attack me and saying, who are you, a non-medical person, to even suggest this. I do know that they had to change the definition of the word vaccine to accommodate this COVID shot, as it gave Pfizer and others liability protection from prosecution. But I think it's a fair question to ask. There are many well-respected doctors who believe this, and this jab lowers a person's immune system. I was just talking to a doctor recently, as they said, and they were told that the spike protein would stay in the arm in the infected area, but we know, and they know, that now this is not true, and they're saying that this could be the cause of problems in other areas. All I'm saying is rather than everyone putting up a huge wall of defense, why not be open and a truthful discussion? Because if it is causing problems, surely it should be taken off the market. We should still not be promoting it and pushing it down at the local chemist. The problem is, the longer this goes on without some answers, the lower the public trust in the health system, especially to Big Pharma, becomes. People I talk to are concerned about the large number of vaccines available today. And we hear that in the United States, there will be another 30 to 40 odd coming in the pipeline that will increase the number increase the number available to about 72. I had a friend who went for a tetanus shot the other day, and a nurse told him that there were two other vaccines in the tetanus shot, so he chose not to take it. I don't know, but I just watched a debate in Tennessee. The bureaucrats discussing putting vaccines into vegetables, into tomatoes. They were talking about the labeling to ensure that the label informs people which tomatoes had vaccines and which tomatoes didn't. I mean, this sounds crazy to me, but who am I? Again, I'm not getting into all of that today. New Zealand Doctors for Science have a lot of credible information on overseas research that we don't hear too much about in New Zealand or in the mainstream media particularly. They won't report on it. Likewise, the Health Forum in New Zealand by Linda Warden has some sad and interesting testimonies from people. But for me, just to say this, let's be honest, the COVID vaccine has not helped the issue of trust. Many people have or are losing their trust in Big Pharma sector due to their experience, their own experience, or someone that they know. And I think we do need to remember the fear, the pressure, the coercion, the threats, even the bribery for people to take this shot. I do hope and pray, though, that the medical world, without the influence of the huge profits from Big Pharma in relation to grants and all that, I hope they can have an honest look at these issues. We do need to ask, I mean, what has caused all the dramatic rise in the allergies in kids today? I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about autism, what's causing that, ADHD and all this kind of stuff. Likewise, a huge rise in bowel cancer, especially among young people, and the amount of what they're calling today turbo cancers around in 3 years. I'm praying for a lot of people that have been through these issues. We do need some answers for sure. On that, we can all agree. And again, I've spoken to a number of sufferers and had my thoughts on it all based on their testimonies. But this post is about long COVID, and I'm leaving all those bigger questions to JFK and his medical team at the CDC and other medical experts to work on, or work through, and all those complicated health issues and more. In the meantime, I will continue to pray and believe for everyone who asks for prayer for whatever, whoever. As the Apostle John writes, "Beloved, I pray above all else that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers." So, hey, I hope and pray that we can get to the bottom of this. God bless you.